First, I beat the game without Ultrahand. Then I finished it without Fuse or Ultrahand. You all asked for it, so now it's time for me to take this little saga to its extremely illogical conclusion. Can you beat the Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom without using any runes? These abilities are the lifeblood of Tears of the Kingdom, and the entire game is designed around the player using them regularly in a variety of ways. So in case you're an amnesiac who forgot your entire playthrough after a tragic accident, or just unfamiliar with the game, here's a quick rundown. You can build crazy structures and machines with Ultrahand, Fuse lets you enhance your weapons, shields, and arrows with extra damage and special effects, Ascend allows you to swim through ceilings and emerge on top, and Recall rewinds an object's recent motion. These 4 are given to Link over the course of the tutorial, but that's not just what's off limits for me. The ability wheel accessed with L has 4 more slots, and I can't use any of them. That means no amiibos, no auto build, no camera, and even the humble map rune is a no-go. But I didn't bother getting auto build or the camera in this run. Amiibos are a bonus feature, and literally nobody uses the map rune anyway, so none of those matter. I would just ban the L button entirely, but that's not really an option. I'll explain why in a bit. No runes, obviously. That's rule number 1. Rule 2 is a bonus challenge. No fused items, period. In my previous video without Fuse, I allowed myself to take fused weapons and shields from chests and enemies. In this challenge, if I ever pick up a fused item, I'm required to immediately enter my inventory and destroy the fusion. Rule 3, no glitches. Unfortunately, there's a big, fat asterisk here. My previous 2 videos were possible glitchless, but to my knowledge, this one is not. So the exception is the tutorial shrines on the Great Sky Island, but I'm not allowed to use glitches anywhere else, and trust me, this will not trivialize things. Before we get started, please remember to like the video if you enjoy it, dislike the video if you hate it, subscribe if you want to see more, and comment your lovely thoughts and ideas. With all that out of the way, let's start the run. Link gets whacked by Ganondorf in the intro cutscene, and Raru's disembodied right arm takes him to the Great Sky Island, the game's tutorial area. First, I headed for the Uku Shrine, where Raru's ghost gives me the Ultrahand ability. Use Ultrahand to receive this shrine's blessing? Sorry man, this is a much better time to acquaint my viewers with the glitch I'll be needing later. Technically, the shrine is possible without runes or glitches, but you can watch my last video to find out about that. This method is quicker, and as you can see, I'm gonna need the practice. So, how does this infinite height glitch work? Well, there are 2 dev-intended ways to double jump in Tears of the Kingdom, the shield jump and the jump attack. Both will give the player extra height and distance, but normally the shield jump is just better. That is, until you're able to cancel the jump slash. By bringing up the ability selection menu with L, then swapping to the shield selection screen by pressing B and left on the D-pad at the same time and changing shields, Link will exit the jump attack animation. This is why I couldn't ban the L button, by the way. At this point, I'm still not able to do another jump attack, but I can enter bullet time by pulling out my bow, which does refresh my jump attack. Now it's just a matter of repeating this sequence over and over and over and over until I finally reach the other side. It's worth noting that this was patched in the 1.1.2 version of the game, but I never updated past 1.1.0, so it still worked for me. Something to keep in mind if you're interested in trying this run for yourself. This glitch is not easy, and one mistimed button press is likely to lose all of my progress. Still, it's my only recourse. There's no other way forward. Next, I headed for the Ascend Shrine, but psych, I am so not ready to take on that one yet. I'm nowhere near good enough at the infinite height glitch. Instead, I grabbed some bomb flowers from the bottomless cave and went to the Fuse Shrine, which is pretty easy glitchless. I beat the first 2 puzzles the same way as last time and threw a bomb to break the final barrier. Now I had no choice but to beat the Ascend Shrine, so I went there and began throwing myself at this brick wall. After about half an hour and a couple of really close attempts, I managed to get over the first obstacle. The trick is to bring up the abilities menu as soon as the attack begins, so none of Link's upward momentum is lost. The more I got the hang of this, the easier it became to progress. The second wall took me just 15 minutes, and the next one only a few more. The final wall is by far the most difficult, a grueling climb 20 times taller than Link. It requires absolute mastery of the infinite height technique, and there's a moving platform which can mess things up. But before I could get started with attempts, I had to sort out Link's failed wall climb animation, which stops the glitch dead in the water if you aren't ready for it. However, Link will only do it once before he touches the ground again, and I could actually use that to my advantage. You're still able to jump attack afterward, so I just began starting my attempts with a failed wall climb. Now it was just a matter of reaching the top. After nearly 4 straight minutes of repeating this same precise input, I had succeeded in giving myself carpal tunnel, but also in completing the Ascend Shrine. It was totally worth it for the content. I'm sure my future self will be thanking me when his hands are falling off. I'm not out of the woods yet, though. Next, I went to the Temple of Time and received the Recall Rune. No doubt this ability will prove important? I don't think so, buddy. Magical powers mean nothing to me. The intended strat is to rewind these rotating platforms to reach the door on the other side, but that can easily be circumvented with a shield jump. However, I am still a weakling and unable to open this door, so Raru tells me to complete the recall shrine. After warping back to the Room of Awakening, I'm faced with a similar but much harder platforming challenge. The intended solution is to ascend onto this platform and jump across while rewinding these wheels, and there's no other way up. Trust me, I tried for 40 minutes. Luckily, the speedrunners have got me covered on this one. Link can leap backward onto the spinning platform off of this pillar, and then shield jump on top of the intended starting area from there. It's precise but not too difficult. Then I climbed over the gear portions to reach the tunnel that leads to the shrine. Now that I've mastered the infinite height glitch, the recall shrine is going to be an absolute cakewalk. I flew over the 2 water pools and up to the final area, then jump attacked against this gate so I'd be at the right height when it opened for a split second. Oh no. Nothing to worry about here. Probably just some bad luck. Let's try this again. What? What's wrong here? I thought this was gonna work. A terrifying thought occurred to me at this point. What if the gate doesn't actually open at all and just appears to in order to nudge the player into using recall on these clock hands, which is the intended solution? That would make this challenge completely impossible, even with glitches. In order to test this theory out, I grabbed this nearby chest with Ultrahand to see if it would fit through the gap, and breathed a huge sigh of relief when it did. There must be something else going wrong here. So, new hypothesis. What if jump attacking against a wall doesn't give me any forward momentum, and that's why I wasn't carried through the opening? There was no easy way to test this out, so I just had to try something else and hope it worked. I reloaded my save to erase the stench of Ultrahand usage and flew over the first obstacles again. It's possible to shield jump out of the infinite height glitch, but I'd have to time the start of the glitch perfectly. I get the feeling I could have been here trying this for hours, but extremely luckily, I managed to get it first try and shield jump through the open gap. Yes! All tutorial shrines are possible runeless. Even though I'd now finished all the shrines, the Great Sky Island had one last challenge to throw at me. In order to reach the altar and send the Master Sword back in time, I needed to complete a little obstacle course. You're meant to just use Ascend to reach the next platform, but that's not allowed obviously. So the solution was pretty simple. I had to jump over the gap. Easier said than done though. A speed 3 potion combined with a shield jump doesn't get me anywhere close. Fortunately, there is a Zonai device that can essentially function as a platform, the wing, and by stacking them on top of each other, it's possible to gain substantial height. Unfortunately, the only wing dispenser on the Great Sky Island is inaccessible without Ascend. Fortunately again, there are 2 chests with 3 wings each in them lying around the tutorial area. The first is on top of the Room of Awakening and is pretty easy to reach. Unfortunately again, 3 wings is not quite enough to reach the platform, so I had to get the other chest, which is a lot harder. Any of the runes would make it trivial, but that's not an option, so I imported some large rocks, stacked them up, and jumped off of them to get over there. Now I had 6 wings, but stacking them up is still a tricky process. I don't have much control over how they're placed, and one wrong move sends the tower toppling over. But maybe that's exactly what I need. I can run along the falling wing and just barely jump to the other side. The second jump is easy, and with that, I'd finally completed the tutorial. It only cost me 5 hours, carpal tunnel, and my sanity. I think we can all agree that's a small price to pay. Now that the game has opened up and given me access to the world, there won't be many future challenges that I'm railroaded into. After getting the paraglider, I was able to reach the wing dispenser on Tutorial Island, which I used to access Hyrule Castle. There, I got my hands on some actually decent weapons, which will be very necessary now that I'm completely unable to use fused items. Next, I activated the Eldin, Zora, and Ulri towers, which will be useful for reaching distant parts of the map. After fighting some monsters, I had enough rupees to buy the Flamebreaker armor and start the Goron questline. I broke Yunobo's mask and teleported to the top of Death Mountain, where the Miragia fight was waiting for me. It's super easy though, and I headed for the Fire Temple immediately afterwards. All of the gongs can be reached with gliding, climbing, or rail surfing, and activated the same way as last time. That is, except for one, the gong on the bottom floor. Before, I used Ascend to reach it from below, but this time I needed to go in from above, the intended route. However, the only way in is blocked off by a rock that needs to be broken with Yunobo's charge attack. There's nowhere to launch him from though, and without Ultrahand, I'm not able to create a ramp. The good news is that there are some minecarts nearby, and Yunobo can be fired from the front whenever Link is riding one. All I needed to do was ride up the slope and aim properly to create an opening and reach the only difficult gong. The Marble Goma boss fight is pretty easy by default, and all I needed was a strong construct bow and a couple of royal broadswords to take it down, gaining a heart container, Yunobo's ghost, and removing Goma from the final boss rush. In my previous Tears of the Kingdom challenge runs, I'd just settled for the Hylian armor set to give my health a bit of leeway, but this time without any fused items, my damage output was going to be at an all-time low in the final battle. That meant I needed a little extra preparation. Armor can be found in this game that enhances various stats, such as shock resistance or climbing speed, but I had my eye on the Barbarian armor. Each piece of this set that you're wearing will provide a single attack up bonus, so having all three will grant the maximum attack buff. The Barbarian armor is in essentially random caves all over Hyrule, so I headed for the chest segment first, found inside the Krenel Hills cave. I skirted around the stone talus, blew up the wall, and grabbed the armor, then promptly died to the talus right afterward, as a truly skilled gamer would. Next, I went for the leg wraps in the Walnut Mountain cave. After getting the Barbarian pants, the only thing left was a helmet in the Robe Red drop-off cave, but I am dumb, unfortunately, and forgot that Ascend was required to reach it. Wow, who even managed to hide it there in the first place? Luckily, I had a backup plan. The Fierce Deity armor set also boosts attack power and makes Link look even cooler than the Barbarian armor. So I headed for Skull Lake Cave where the Fierce Deity mask is hidden. After collecting it, I now had a permanent 50% damage boost, which really helped to offset my weak unfused weapons. And dance break! I was actually on vacation while doing this challenge run, and let's just say that whoever chose the music for this ship has excellent taste.
This is so good.
Okay, enough of that. It's time to test out my new armor set, and what better way to do that than fighting the silver, white Lionel in the enemy Gauntlet for its triple shot bow. Without fused items, this would easily become the most powerful weapon in my arsenal, but killing it is, of course, easier said than done. Eventually, it got stuck on a patch of gloom and wouldn't stop shooting arrows at me, which was really annoying. However, this actually worked to my advantage because it allowed me to spam Yunobo's charge attack at it over and over without worrying about my weapon durability. Savage Lionel bow acquired. Every time I beat this game, the final boss rush becomes a bit easier as I get more and more practice with it. Still, I like having a buffer on my health, and having extra stamina allows more shots while in bullet time, so I wanted to complete some shrines. In this run, I finished 24 shrines after the first 4 in the tutorial, but most of them didn't require any new strategies. The 10 names seen here are tutorial or combat shrines, which don't need runes by default, although the combat shrines become a bit more challenging. For these 3, I used the same strategy as in my No Ultrahand video, and did these 5 the same way as last time, without Fuse or Ultrahand. That leaves 5 new strategies and 1 new shrine, so let's take a look. Water Makes a Way, Katanar Shrine. The first lava pool is easily crossed by carrying a hydrant, and I used a cobble crusher to break through the rock wall, although a bomb flower would totally work too. The flowing lava stream at the end is tricky, but throwing the hydrants into the water can block the platforms they create from moving, and then it's just a matter of jumping across. Wheeled Wonders, Murakaguk Shrine. The gap at the beginning can be crossed by blowing up this bridge while standing on it, and the first lava pool can be ridden across on this pre-built machine. You're meant to attach these cars and ride across the second lava pool, then ascend up this platform. I can't do that, but what I can do is make some big explosions. I put a bunch of bombs under this car, then used fire fruits to make a little fuse. I got on top, activated it, and blasted off to the final area, where all I needed to do was knock the metal balls onto the pressure plate to open the final door. Raru's Blessing Susub Shrine has no puzzles and is literally just hidden underground in a well. So, free light of blessing, I guess. A Spinning Device, Susuyai Shrine. After falling into a bottomless pit for trying to get some arrows, I found out that you can actually just run across this spinning platform at the beginning with a bit of patience. This rotating lever is thankfully a physics object, so I placed a bomb flower right next to it, shot it, and ducked under the door as it opened for a split second. At the end, I put 2 bombs next to the sliding end platform, made and activated a fuse, then ducked behind the wall and rode the platform to the end in first-person mode. A Windy Device, Ishidag Shrine. The first 2 obstacles are easy to fly over with fans, but the last wall provides a real challenge. I tried to get fans underneath that would fly upwards and push it, but couldn't manage to position them right, although this happened, which was pretty funny. Instead, I reverted to Old Faithful, bomb flowers. 1 isn't enough, but positioning Link and the bombs at the front of the platform will prevent them from blowing him up. I did fail once and this glitch happened, but I don't know how it works enough to exploit it, and even if I could, it would be against the rules. 2 bombs positioned correctly is enough to blast the platform to the top and complete the shrine. Rise and Fall, a Kochiu Shrine. Recall is the intended rune for all of the puzzles here, but you're actually able to just run across the railing at the beginning. You're meant to rewind this falling metal box, but octoballoons work too. Yeah, I bet you forgot those were still in the game when recall is a thing, but it definitely works to my advantage here. The final puzzle can be completed by dropping a 2-handed weapon, attaching an octoballoon, then shooting it while on the platform. The weapon will fall onto the button, launching you up and letting you glide to the goal. Finding solutions to shrines without using any of the runes was a lot of fun, forcing me to think outside the box and use unexpected game mechanics. Leave a comment if you'd like to see a follow-up video about whether all of the shrines of the game are possible without any runes. With 10 hearts and an extra bit of stamina, it was time for the final enemy gauntlet and boss rush. I bought arrows, cooked all my Sundelions into gloom healing food, and made some other dishes with useful effects, such as haste, defense, and extra stamina. I ran past the Horriblins at the start of the enemy gauntlet, then killed the White Lionel again so I would have 2 triple shot bows for the final boss rush, since there had been a blood moon since last time. Ascend and Recall make traversing parts of this area easier, but with stamina elixirs they aren't really needed. I turned a chunk of my Choo Choo Jellies electric because I didn't have any shock fruit, then stole some high damage bows from Lizalfos. I climbed up a wall to escape the Gloom Hands, ran past the Gibdos, and used a Cobble Crusher to break open the rock walls. With that, I made it to Gloom's Lair, the final area before the boss rush. I used a similar strategy to last time for the Demon King's army, throwing a Muddlebutt at the boss Boko at the beginning, then running away and sniping individual enemies. Tossing a Topaz gem near the beginning really helped to speed things up though. I replaced most of my weapons with Royal Broadswords, and also grabbed any dropped arrows. Topaz gave me a head start on the Lysel wave, and I replaced my partially used Steel Lysel bow with a fresh one. Topaz took down most of the Gibdos and handled the Moblins pretty well too. I picked off the rest with my bow. Colgera was a pushover, as always, and Muktarak was annoying, as always. This time though, I had some Opal, which made it a lot easier to break the shark form. Using my Lionel bow, a spicy pepper updraft, and stamina boosting food, I was almost able to one-cycle its second phase. Not quite, but I still finished it off handily. Queen Gibdo's first phase is pretty easy, but her second phase allows her to fly and dodge thrown items, which is super frustrating to deal with. Once I made her vulnerable though, headshotting with the triple shot bow killed her pretty quickly. Because I'd mostly used bows for the previous fights, I still had plenty of melee weapons left when I reached C's Construct. Fire attacks didn't seem to stun it as long as I'd remembered, so I got hit a couple of times, but overall there were no issues. Phantom Ganon is slow moving and easy to dodge, so I ran away, continually headshotted them, and flurry rushed when necessary. I also made sure to pick up all their dropped gloom weapons. Right before the final Ganondorf battle, I ate a tough mushroom skewer to max out my defense. This made me basically invulnerable because whenever I got hit, I only took 1 heart of damage. This didn't last through the entire fight, but it did for most of it, and by the end I still had a ton of healing items left over. Did I mention that I beat this entire boss rush first try? After a final flurry rush on the Demon King, Ganondorf turns into a 5-year-old and swallows the nearest shiny object. Man, if only I had turned into a dragon when I did that as a toddler. As usual, the Demon Dragon is an absolute pushover, and as I catch the Falling Princess, I've officially beaten the Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom without using any runes. Well, it feels good to bring this trilogy to a close, but I'll be releasing another video in a few days where I investigate the most suggested ideas from the comments of my previous 2 challenges. Maybe when you're watching this, it's already out, in which case feel free to click on it here. Anyways, you have my enormous gratitude for watching to the end, and I hope you have a fantastic day.